We're going to start today with a delicious bread that you will want your family to have every day of every week. And you're going to find all kinds of fun things to be able to do with it. I love slicing it and use it for breakfast. I love slicing it and using it for lunch with sandwiches. I also love slicing it and even having it as a side for dinner. So this bread is going to be one that once you prepare it, you're going to probably have to fix it a couple of times a week. But you know what? The good thing is that this bread is so easy. You can put it together and walk away and come back in a couple of hours and it's ready to go. So let's look at how we do it. I am so ready for the summer. And you know what? When the summer comes, that means that you're not going to have a lot of time to spend in the kitchen. We're the home cook, but we've got fun things to do that we'd rather do outside rather than inside. So I'm going to share with you my favorite bread. Because after all, we still want our families to have delicious meals. We want to have delicious bread. So we're not going to put those things off. We're just going to find a way to prepare them that doesn't require a lot of time or a lot of money. So I'm going to show you a couple things today that I think you will absolutely love. So let's get to it. This recipe is so easy. Here's what you do. You're going to whisk together your water, your 1.5 cups of water, and your sugar and your yeast in a large bowl. And you're going to make sure that you've mixed it well. And if you know that your yeast is good, then you can move on to the next part. But if you're not quite sure, give it about 5 minutes and let the yeast and the sugar and the water get nice and happy and start to bubble. Then you're going to stir in your 3 1/4 cups of flour, and you're going to mix in at least a heaping teaspoon of salt. And then you're going to mix all of this with a heavy spoon. Or you can even use your KitchenAid, but I do this by hand all the time. And it works and it's easy. Now this is going to be a very, very sticky dough. Then you're going to cover it and not necessarily airtight, and you're going to let this rise at room temperature for about 2 hours or until the bread dough has risen about at least twice its width. You want it to double, and if it's not starting to rise, find a warmer spot and just cover it well. I usually use plastic wrap and a nice warm kitchen towel. Always works. Now, how easy was that? That's it. All we have to do at this point is to let the yeast and the flour and the sugar and all of that goodness work itself into a beautiful dough. So we're going to cover it with a plastic wrap and we're going to sit it in a nice warm place. I'm Leona Dooley, and if you're new to my channel, this is Ebony Ivy Thyme. And here at Ebony Ivy Thyme, we are doing things for the new home cook, the young home cook, and those of us who are more seasoned. We want to be able to get in our kitchen to cook up good meals. I love one-pan meals that we can put together and our family just melts because the food is so delicious. And we're trying new things every now and then also to see just what is the perfect balance for all of us. And you know what? We're also occasionally decorating our kitchen to make it absolutely special for those who come into our home. So if you like doing all of those things, then Ebony Ivy Thyme is going to be the place for you. This is one of my fun recipes that I absolutely love to prepare and the family loves. So I'm starting in a Dutch oven, drizzling in just a little bit of olive oil. And what we're going to do, we're going to put together what I call spaghetti soup. Now, I don't know about you, but I always have containers of spaghetti sauce, the bolognese sauce in the freezer. And so I'm just going to take some of that because I need to use some of it up. And I'm going to add more green peppers into it. As you can see, there's one whole green pepper that's been chopped up, as well as a whole onion that I've also chopped and prepared that we're going to add to this mixture. And you know, the good thing is that this is a good time to be able to use up some of those vegetables that just need to get into a better place. So we're going to do that. And they're just a little past their prime. So this celery was certainly that. So I'm going to chop that up because I'm not about to waste it. So it's been washed, it's been chopped, and we're adding it to our mixture. Now, what we're going to do at this point, you can see I'm just mixing. I'm going to put a little bit of my house seasoning, my basic house seasoning, which is strictly black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. And I'm adding in at least 1 teaspoon. And later on, I'll taste it to see if we need a little bit more. But this is going to get us started because after all, the spaghetti sauce that we've made and it's coming from the freezer is already seasoned. Now, if you don't have any spaghetti sauce in your freezer, then you can certainly use whatever brand of spaghetti sauce that you like. But I love preparing a big batch of spaghetti sauce, having some for dinner, and preparing the rest to go into the freezer or even canning it. Now, I had some Simply Potatoes cubes that are ready. They were in the freezer. I'm going to use those up. So we're going to take care of that. So I've taken that and poured those in, and I'm going to let those get nice and hot, and they're going to start to break down because that's going to be a part of our soup. And this is going to be a very, very hearty soup. Now, as you can see, there's our container of spaghetti sauce. And sorry, that was backwards, but that's okay. You know what it is. Now, it is a little bit frozen. And so I'm going to, I did put it into the microwave, but I didn't leave it in there a long time because all of this is going to need to simmer because this is going to finish up when the bread finishes up. So I've got time enough to let that just simmer. This is one of those great Saturday meals that you can put together, put it on the stove, go on about your business, get your laundry, your cleaning, or fun things taken care of. And by the time you're ready for dinner, soup is ready, and so is your bread. So we're going to just give all of this a chance to come together. So I'm going to add a little liquid, and you could certainly use beef broth, or in some cases, if you only have chicken broth, use chicken broth. Now, as luck would have it, I had some homemade broth. So I'm going to put that right into this container, right into our Dutch oven. So let's get that done. Keep in mind that this is a soup, so because of that, we're going to need lots of liquid. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm going to add in about 2 cups, and I'll leave the rest off to the side just in case I need it. But as you can see, all of this will need to break down. Now here we are, we're at that point where everything has liquefied. So I am just giving everything a really good stir. But notice the spaghetti sauce is not broken down yet. It's not hot enough for it to break all of that block of sauce down. So we're going to need to just let it simmer. Now let's get our dough ready. From the second rise, you can see how beautiful it is. You can see all the gas bubbles. And this time I'm going to take the plastic wrap off and sit it off to the side. Now I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of flour down on the surface, because I don't want a lot, just enough to keep it from sticking. And we're going to shape this into our boule. Now watch. There we go. Make sure we get everything out. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of flour on my bench scraper. And I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour to it because it's a little wet. And to my surface. And we're going to fold and fold. See, it's pretty sticky. That's okay. That's a nice, moist dough. We're using our bench scraper, adding flour where we need it, but not a lot. So now you can see it's gotten to a nice stage, and what I'm going to do is to just roll it around this table until we get a nice smooth surface. Now what I'm trying to do is to get it to smooth out on top. Smooth it out, you can see. See our little gas bubbles forming, and as it smooths, we're tucking underneath. Tucking. I can use my scraper and just continue to roll and sprinkle just little pinches of flour here and there, just to keep it from sticking to the surface. This is probably the hardest part of the whole bread baking, is getting it just right. And we want this top to be nice and tight. So that's why we're rolling it, getting a tight top surface. Nice and tight. There we go. Now I'm going to rub just a little bit of flour over the top very gently. Just a little bit of flour. Now I'm going to put it into a bowl. But before I put it into that bowl, I'm going to put just a little bit of oil in the bottom. Just a little bit. Just enough for the dough to get a little oily. So we're going to take our dough. I'm going to put the top side down first. Put that down first. You'll see it's nice and oily. And then I'll drop the bottom section in. Nice and oily. So there we go. So I'm going to cover this up for about the next, you can just see those little gas bubbles popping. I'm going to give it about a 30-minute rise, and I'm going to turn the oven on so we can get ready to bake our bread. All right, we're going to take it out. You can see it's coming up very nicely, and because we had oil on it, it is coming off of the paper very nicely. So I'm going to put it right out here on the parchment. There it is. And it's beautiful. Now, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to get a knife, and we're going to dress it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to actually use my scissors to do this. And I'm just going to make 3 clips in the top of the bread, which is going to allow it to have room to expand. We're going to pick it up with our paper, and we're going to drop it into our nice cast iron pan. Notice I did not heat the cast iron pan. We could, but I didn't. So I'm going to put the top on this. It won't make a bit of difference. The oven is hot and ready to go. So I'm going to slide this in, and in about 30 to 40 minutes, we'll be ready to take a look. This mat has been an absolute game changer for me when it comes to baking bread and being able to clean up pretty quickly, because sometimes it takes a while to get all the flour off of my cutting board. So let me take you in a little closer and I'll show you what it has. If you're cutting say pie crust, it gives you the indications as to what your pie crust should look like and what its size should be, so that helps tremendously when you're doing that. It also has measurements in standard inches as well as in metric. So with either system that you might measure in, you have that opportunity there as well. It also has a groove that goes all the way around the mat. Now, let me tell you how valuable that is. Water does not run off this mat. Neither does flour. Flour stays on the mat. So nothing comes off of this mat. How about that? That is amazing. And I have baked now bread on this mat for well over a month, and I am well satisfied with the quality, as well as how quickly it cleans up and how quickly I can clean my surface up. Yay! 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, our soup is bubbling. It's nice and hot, and we need to give it a stir. I've added a little pasta in. It can be spaghetti, it can be fettuccine, it can be linguine, whatever you have that's in your pantry. That's what you're going to add into this soup. I've also added a little bit of mixed vegetables in because I wanted some additional vegetables, and I just happen to have a partial bag in the freezer. How about that? So our soup is ready. Don't forget to give your soup a little taste. I want you to see how beautiful this bread is now that it has come out of the oven. I actually got caught up in something else, left the top on the pan, and I've never done this before, but I left it in there and I let it just bake for 40 minutes. And I want you to see how beautiful, beautiful this loaf is. Check it out. Is that not beautiful? And can you hear the sound? That's the tap you want to hear. I'm turning it over to the bottom. See how hollow that sounds? It's nice and brown, but it is so nice and soft. Now, it's going to need to sit and cool off for a little while. So I actually have a wire rack that I'm going to put it on and let it cool. And for dinner, we're going to slice this. There is nothing more rewarding than slicing into this beautiful bowl of bread. And I want you to see how nice and soft it is. Look at its crumb. It is delicious. And I'm even going to show you a few things that I've done with it. I used it for breakfast. I've had it on the side. I've just toasted it and had it for an accompaniment to a soup or to the meal. So this bread is one that you can use anytime and for anything. Bread storage may certainly be a slight issue for you. And this is a bread bag. It's reusable. You can actually freeze your bread in this bag and it will thaw and come out perfectly safe. It is made from recycled water bottles, and which is really nice to know that we're able to do something like that. I also use it just to store my bread here in the kitchen. Now, I didn't want a bread box, and that's kind of what the big guy was looking at, trying to get a bread box. I just wanted a container to be able to put the bread in that I knew that the bread was going to stay, first of all, nice and clean and very fresh. And it does stay very fresh for at least 3 to 4 days. And that's because of the fact that your bread has absolutely no preservatives in it, and it is able to stay very fresh and very perfect. So let's get to all the fun things that you can do with your bread. when you've tried just about every bread recipe there is on the internet, and you finally come across one that works for both you and your family, that's a time saver as well as a money saver, then that's the recipe you want to keep. And whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, having a delicious slice of bread is always very welcoming. Now, I invite you to come back to Ebony Ivy Thyme, because this is where we are doing things to build our family. The home cook is so important to that, because it's in our kitchen where we love on our family, we feed our family nutritious meals, and we even make the kitchen a very happy place. So I look forward to seeing you soon, right here in the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme.